This film is based on a true story. It is 1955. A woman named Mercedes Arevalo balances caring for her family, running the household, and pursuing a career. Her husband, Efren Garcia, works as a photographer, and despite her own busy schedule, she even manages to help him. Mercedes is a judge's legal secretary. Her daily work involves processing all kinds of cases, ranging from theft to far more serious crimes. Mercedes is informed that a murder has taken place in the restaurant of the Crillon Hotel in Santiago. She and Judge Aliro immediately head there with security officers. The press quickly surrounds them, but they cannot answer any questions yet because they still do not know exactly what happened. A blood-stained woman emerges from the hotel. She is the one who committed the crime. The woman looks detached, showing no reaction to the camera flashes or the journalist's questions. She is arrested and placed in a police car. Mercedes and Aliro enter the hotel. The forensic team has already made a preliminary assessment. It appears that writer Maria Carolina Gale, who publishes under the pen name Georgina Silva, shot her lover, Roberto Pumarino, at point-blank range. The gun belonged to her. The body is taken to the morgue for an autopsy. Maria fired 5 shots. Only someone insane or driven to desperation could do such a thing. The team reconstructs the crime, with Mercedes playing the part of Maria. Afterward, the woman examines Maria's belongings, which the hotel staff have handed over. There is nothing remarkable among them: makeup, toiletries, and other personal items. The story of the woman who committed the murder is already on the front pages of every newspaper. It is a truly sensational case. The crime was committed in broad daylight, in front of dozens of restaurant patrons. The press has dubbed Maria a vampire. Aliro almost feels sorry for her, saying that the journalists will tear the poor woman apart like vultures. Mercedes knows perfectly well that Aliro has a soft spot for women like her. The crime brings Maria far more fame than her writing ever did. In the presence of her lawyer, she admits her guilt but insists that she never meant for this to happen. Roberto was not even her boyfriend. While Mercedes records the interrogation, the judge asks Maria to explain what made her pick up the gun and fire. Perhaps Roberto did something to her? Whatever the case, the woman remains silent. Before Maria stands trial, Aliro insists on a psychiatric evaluation. In his view, the case requires a comprehensive approach. The judge also orders Maria to spend the night not at the police station but at a convent, where the nuns can look after her. Maria's lawyer still considers this insufficient, arguing that Maria is not the sort of woman accustomed to conditions like these. The lawyer demands that she be given clean clothes and good food. The judge agrees. Because Maria's sister lives far away and cannot come immediately, someone has to collect her belongings. It would be improper to send one of the men, so Aliro instructs Mercedes to go to Maria's apartment. When the accused is taken to the convent under guard, journalists crowd around the car. The judge explains his leniency by saying that if Maria catches scabies in jail, the press will blame him. Once inside Maria's luxurious apartment, Mercedes inspects every corner. It seems this woman truly lived without denying herself anything. Many people could not even dream of such a life. Mercedes imagines Maria putting on makeup in front of the mirror and applying perfume before going out. Her wardrobe is remarkably varied. Mercedes packs a suitcase with several dresses and pairs of shoes. Yet she is in no hurry to leave and even waters the flowers. It seems Maria was not close to her family. Fame and money were all she had. Late that evening, after an exhausting day at work, Mercedes returns to her modest apartment, where a mountain of dirty dishes is waiting in the sink. She washes her blouse, and looking in the mirror, sees a tired housewife staring back at her. The next day Mercedes visits Maria and explains that if the psychiatric evaluation finds her legally insane, she will not go to prison. To Maria, however, the prospect of being sent to a psychiatric hospital is even worse. The judge calls in the waiter who served Maria and Roberto's table. As always, Mercedes records the interview. According to the waiter and other witnesses, Maria seemed like a perfectly normal woman, but the couple soon began arguing. Roberto announced that he was going to get married. The argument quickly escalated into a scene. At one point Maria suddenly stood up and fired. The restaurant patrons ran in all directions, screaming. It is clear that Maria acted impulsively rather than with premeditation, and every witness confirms this. Roberto died instantly, without even having time to be afraid. Instead of fleeing, Maria became hysterical and desperately tried to revive him, begging anyone nearby to help. Mercedes and Efren's older son plans to follow in his mother's footsteps and enroll in law school. However, the young man does not want to become an ordinary court secretary. He wants to be a judge, a position women are not allowed to hold. Aliro continues questioning witnesses, including Roberto's brother, Maria's sister, and others. They all agree on one thing: Maria and Roberto's relationship was anything but ordinary. Roberto proposed to Maria several times, but she always rejected him. Then, after yet another refusal, Maria would call Roberto and beg him to come back. And every time, he did. Maria was a fiercely independent woman. Eventually Roberto grew tired of her games and began seeing another woman, Alicia Castro. Even so, he still could not let Maria go completely. Roberto's brother warned him that it would end badly. Maria was divorced after all. Maria's former husband, to whom she was married for 13 years, is called in for questioning. To everyone's surprise, the man describes her as a faithful wife and a loving mother. According to him, she was always very calm. This sharply contradicts the testimony of Roberto's brother, who portrays Maria as an unstable hysteric. Jealousy appears to be the most obvious motive. After learning that Roberto was seeing another woman, Maria supposedly decided that if she could not have him, no one would. At night, Mercedes cannot sleep because of Efren's loud snoring. Although that is probably not the main reason for her insomnia. The next morning, while reviewing the case files, Mercedes comes across a similar incident from 1941 that took place at the same hotel. The accused was Maria Luisa Bombal. She had also used a pistol and shot her lover. The psychiatric evaluation is inconclusive, so a second one is required. Judge Aliro rules that the accused may spend the weekend at home because she poses no danger to herself or anyone else. Mercedes says how proud she is to work for a decent judge. Aliro will deliver a fair verdict even if his reputation is at stake. In truth, there is a touch of sarcasm in her words, because if Aliro lets Maria go, the press will destroy him. After work, Mercedes secretly lets herself into Maria's apartment. She enjoys pasta and expensive wine. For once she devotes a few free hours not to her husband and children, but entirely to herself. Mercedes luxuriates on the silk sheets, uses Maria's makeup and perfume, and tries on her dresses. She wants more than the life of a housewife who has to earn a living on top of taking care of the home. The next day Mercedes arrives at work wearing one of Maria's dresses. She has never received so many compliments from her colleagues. Meanwhile, more and more witnesses claim that Maria and Roberto's relationship involved many tears, and Roberto was always the one crying. All Maria had to do was crook a finger, and he was ready to indulge her every whim. She clearly took advantage of his devotion and spent his money without hesitation. One day Roberto gave Maria a vacuum cleaner, and she took it as a personal insult. Convinced that Roberto was hinting that he wanted her to become a conventional housewife, Maria threw the vacuum cleaner into the river, even though many women in her position would have been delighted with such a gift. Later, she wrote Roberto a letter explaining that she refused to marry him because she understood all the negative consequences such a marriage would bring. Mercedes continues spending her free time in Maria's apartment, unwilling to return home, where only the familiar domestic routine awaits her. During one of these visits, someone else arrives, an old friend of Maria's. He appears neither angry nor surprised. Mercedes introduces herself as Maria's cousin and gives the first name that comes to mind, Domingo. It is the name of one of her colleagues. The man has keys to Maria's apartment because she gave them to him personally. He reflects on human nature, saying that killing in the name of love is not a crime. Mercedes jokes wistfully that it is fortunate no one has ever loved her that way. The man mentions Maria Luisa Bombal, who shot her lover at the same hotel almost 15 years earlier and was also a famous writer. She was eventually pardoned. But Bombal was known around the world, while Maria Carolina Gale is nowhere near that level of fame. Mercedes dances with the charming stranger. He has already realized that she is not Maria's cousin, but promises that her secret is safe with him. The man introduces himself as Renee, and Mercedes finally gives him her real name. Overcome with emotion, Renee leans in to kiss Mercedes, but she pulls away. After all, she is a married woman. With a sad smile, Renee tells her that he is a failed poet who has never found his place in life. He does not judge Mercedes at all for her little secret. Everyone who grows tired of being themselves day after day should have a place where they can become nobody. Mercedes silently takes Renee's hands, and they continue to whirl around the room. Whatever the case, it is time to return to reality. Early in the morning, Mercedes wakes in her modest apartment, where everyone constantly expects something from her, both as a mother and as a wife. Efren's relatives will soon be staying with them. He did not think it necessary to consult his wife, even though she objects because they already have so little space. Efren asks Mercedes why she came home drunk the night before. The woman gives only an evasive reply, saying that she was probably just tired. Despite everything, Mercedes keeps returning to Maria's apartment and enjoying all its comforts. The people around her cannot help noticing the changes in her. Montero, the prosecutor in the case, hears rumors that Maria is living in custody as though she were in a 5-star hotel. She has been given a private bathroom, laundry service, and other comforts. Montero considers this unacceptable, since she is a cold-blooded killer. Why has Maria been granted all these privileges? Aliro asks Mercedes to visit Maria the next day and inspect the conditions in which she is being held. Efren grows increasingly worried about his wife's constant late returns. As a result, the family eats dinner late, since Efren himself never cooks. He also cannot help wondering where Mercedes is getting her expensive outfits and jewelry. Their family cannot afford such things, but she always has an excuse. As instructed, Mercedes goes to inspect the conditions in which Maria is being held. There, she meets a woman named Rosa, who is also awaiting trial. Rosa tells her story. She took the life of her son-in-law, who had been beating her pregnant daughter. The woman does not regret what she did in the slightest. While in custody, Maria is still free to devote herself to writing. Mercedes photographs the rooms and the living conditions so she can report back to Judge Aliro. She also notices Maria's prison diary. So this is what the writer has been doing there, writing her own memoirs. Mercedes directly asks Maria why she did it. The woman merely replies that she is there because of her actions, and the reasons no longer matter. That evening Mercedes develops the photographs and lingers over Maria's picture. Perhaps she now feels freer than ever before. Efren's relatives soon arrive. Mercedes spends the entire evening waiting on the guests, serving food and clearing away dirty plates. Almost no one notices her. No one cares that Mercedes is exhausted from work and then spent several more hours standing over the stove. Society simply takes it for granted that a woman should shoulder the entire burden of running a household. In front of all the guests, Efren presents his wife with a surprise: the floor polisher he has finally repaired. Mercedes has lost count of how many times she asked him to fix it. Efren tells her how wonderful it is to spend time with family and says she does not need to come home so late every day. At that moment Mercedes can no longer hold back her tears. She lies awake all night thinking about her life. She wishes everything had turned out differently. In the middle of the night, a tearful Mercedes goes to Maria's apartment, the only place where she can escape all her worries. Suddenly there is a knock at the door. It is Efren, who has followed his wife. Mercedes opens the door. Efren walks inside, leaving dirty footprints on the floor. When he realizes whose apartment it is, he tells Mercedes that she has lost her mind. If she had fallen in love with another man, that would seem less crazy. He simply cannot make sense of what is happening. The woman wearily replies that this apartment is the only place where she feels at peace. Her husband does not understand what she means. Mercedes admits that she can no longer bear all the responsibilities resting on her shoulders. She is overwhelmed, and she has had enough. The two cry together and embrace. The next morning Mercedes reaches for Maria's makeup bag as naturally as ever and applies her makeup. She considers it a fair arrangement. She looks after the apartment, and in return uses its owner's belongings. This is the first time Efren has spent the night there. Mercedes decides to clean the carpet where he left muddy marks. The man cannot understand why his wife cares, since the carpet does not even belong to her. This cannot continue forever. It is not their home and not their life. Efren tells Mercedes that they will never come back. She simply keeps scrubbing the carpet in silence. Soon Mercedes notices Maria's prison memoirs on bookstore shelves, only recently published. Aliro now faces the consequences of his own decisions. The fact that no verdict has yet been delivered is causing public outrage. The judge intends to correct the delay at once. Mercedes reads Maria's memoirs with great interest. Aliro, no longer willing to postpone matters, delivers his verdict during a closed court hearing and gives the writer the maximum sentence. Despite everything, Mercedes continues spending time in Maria's apartment. The neighbors are even beginning to recognize her, assuming that she is the new tenant. An unknown man arranges a meeting with Judge Aliro at a bar through Mercedes. It turns out to be a setup orchestrated by the president's people. Maria's case has become an international scandal, and many are displeased with Aliro's verdict. Soon afterward, Mercedes hears on the radio that the president has granted Maria a pardon. This means she will no longer be able to return to the apartment. Tears well in Mercedes' eyes. Mercedes photographs the apartment as a keepsake. She will never forget how happy she felt there. Then the woman leaves forever and watches from a distance as Maria's car arrives. The two women exchange a glance. In the final scene, viewers are shown real archival photographs and other materials connected to Maria's case.